Now what we're going to do is clone our object and subdivide it and then export it into ZBrush. So I'm going to select my object and we are going to clone it. I'm going to hit Control D, use the move tool and move it over here. And then what I'm going to do is use Edit Mesh and insert edge loop. And that way I can dice this thing up to get equal tessellation. So I can slice it up there, I can slice it here, and what I'm going to do is take this object and cut in these different edge loops. Basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to separate this into equal, more square-like pattern. So you can see I'm cutting this up, getting an even tessellation pattern in here. And the reason why I'm doing this is so that when I model it in ZBrush, I've got geometry resolution where I need it. I've got enough subdivisions in here that when ZBrush tessellates it, it will subdivide it and give me enough detail for me to carve. So anywhere that I think I have detail, I just want to make sure I've got enough of these tessellations in here. It doesn't have to be totally accurate. You can see I have some different ratios in different areas. But as long as it's relatively square, that's a good thing. And so I should have enough geometry and enough base geometry here to sculpt it. Okay, so now that I've got that in there, that looks like it's more than enough. Maybe add one more there. And now what I'm going to do is take this object and I'll export this object because this one is subdivided and ready to go. I don't model it at all. I don't move any vertices around because my UV mapping coordinates would change if I changed the form of this object, and I don't want any of that distortion. So I'm simply using this object to export into ZBrush. So what I'll do is make sure I can do that. I go Window, Settings, Plugin Manager, and I'll make sure in the Plugin Manager that it's set to export OBJs. OBJ export, I'd make sure that's turned on, close that, and then now with this object selected, let me grab this object here, select it, and then I go File, Export Selection, and I will export that as an OBJ. So I'll pick the appropriate file that I want it and name it appropriately, Club Export, make sure it's an OBJ. And now I've exported a subdivided object that I can sculpt in ZBrush.